like 16 years I haven't had to go to the board.
She's talking about it, finished up.
I got started.
I mean, they got 165 budget. The meeting last night was all about Lance Thomas. Aviation Hall of Fame, proclamation, showed the film, all that stuff.
Lance has done well with his insurance, aviation insurance. They don't check it. At Augusta?
Man,
yeah, you talking about this?
he's going to get hired until he's playing golf every day. Can he play? Yeah, I hope he will by the end of the summer.
Okay.
Which thinks he wants to play. Right now, it's nice being out there now.
Oh, that's nice.
When he gets up to
When we're in practice, so it's like you talk to Mark. Why didn't you get ask my
indoors,
SunTrust take like $15 an hour. No, we gotta ask somebody else. Like, we get you to SunTrust, work on finance. I just want to have fun.
Hey, what is this?
Two areas that I I wasn't wanting a full report. All I wanted was to take care of the problem. So that's what.
True. How was Tennessee? They improved it tonight. Did you read the plan last week here?
Eighth and 9th Street on Cooley. Then I go to the ballpark. They would not get out. Oh, David? 5 hours. Be nice and polite.
You want a customer?
What? We're doing a customer. I was in a white truck. I was in my blue truck. I'm a blue Explorer. I'm driving my Explorer in the shop. So I'm driving a white Explorer. So usually everybody recognizes me and they get out of the
Scout.
I'm in an unmarked white pickup truck.
Not a good thing.
Not a good thing.
You said white. So we can identify. That's just for identifying purposes. Okay, all we got here. Hey, I want you to make sure you register early. Amelia Allen. Okay, good. You stand nowhere but what we stand. They put him in Hampton. That is my off Troy without. I didn't like that at all.
I am.
How about that? I saw you going in Old City Hall today. Oh, you did? Yeah, we're getting down to the wire. Got it all done? No. We kept it down.
It's going to be ready by June 8th.
They gonna make it? We're shooting for a CO Friday, but I keep telling you we're not gonna make it. Yes, sir. Rotary's got it rented that side.
How are you?
Yes, sir.
If you would like it, your announcements.
We go out in a
Happy day.
barrel made. Hey, what's up? How you doing? Is it already on?
June jams.
That's all you got?
Back up the trees, no change
The item that we're amending,
Beach was great. Remember that year? We did it. Kids were exactly.
whoever else can second it.
I'm in charge.
Thank you. And what did you put up with your house on the east?
It's for Jack Brown from It's got the time since they have to have it. Don't put it on the 28th. Yes. So Doug's to make a motion. Wow.
See any mad folks out there?
No.
That's just information.
Everything on
That's the addendum. What is this?
See, look, the site can't be reached.
I get to it. Sorry.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our City Commission meeting for Tuesday, May 14, 2019. We will open with a pledge of allegiance given by Commissioner McCord and invocation given by Commissioner Hobart.
Please join me for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer. Father, we're here today to ask for your blessings and guidance in the performance of our duties as elected officials. We pray for strength, love, knowledge, and understanding. Help us to recognize and solve the problems that are presented. Make our solutions fair and just to the best interest of everyone. Help us to overcome our shortcomings and keep us united as a team to work for the betterment of the city and its people. We pray in your name. Amen. Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with an additional item number 20, being consider approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Griffin and Spalding County as an addendum to the 2017 Edward Murn Memorial Justice Assistance Grants awarded to the Griffin Police Department and Spalding County Sheriff's Department as a new item under regular agenda. Police Chief Mike Gates will address at the time.
A motion to amend the agenda. Can I get a second? A motion by Commissioner Hobart and a second by Commissioner Murray to amend the agenda with our 20th item. All in favor, let me know by show of hands. 6-0. Thank you. Next, we'll move into presentations and delegations. Number 1, recognize Brian Miller, Citizen Engagement Specialist, as the April 2019 Strongest Link Award recipient. Jessica O'Connor will address.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It is with great honor that I get to recognize Brian Miller this evening as our strongest link for April. As you all know Brian very well, and maybe you've been in front of him in front of the camera, we are very lucky to have him. He is our Facebook guru, but he's also so much more than that, and I finally realized that when I unfortunately asked to be named administrator on the Facebook page. And about 2 days later, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, finally that afternoon I said, Brian, how do I get rid of these messages at 2, 3, 3:30 in the morning? He said, oh, you got to disable that. I said, well, can you help me? I don't know how to do that. So that was the first time I realized how much it was that he had to do outside of just replying to comments on the Spalding County discussion page. But when he was first hired as our citizen engagement specialist, that's sort of what we expected from him. Get on Spalding County discussion page, get on these information pages, and tell them what the city of Griffin does and how we actually operate. Make sure there aren't rumors out there that we can't dispel, and just make sure that we're shining a good light there. And that's hard. It is really negative at times. So I'm very proud that he's able to do that day in and day out. And I know he's talked me off the ledge several times when I wanted to respond and say, that is not right. He's like, you can't do that, Jessica. So he's very helpful in that regard, too. But I will say this, the last month especially, Brian has really stepped up his game. We had a goal this year to have 24 videos done by the end of the year, recognizing that we get a lot of play on social media for videos. As of today, he's already done 29. So we've increased our goal to 50. Georgia Cities Week was a big help with that. He did a video almost every day. He was able to use some that we've done in the past to showcase our history for the city of Griffin, and he's sure showing how bright our future is with his efforts, and we're glad to have him here and are very excited to recognize him as April's strongest link.
Happy day.
I don't know where
Speech.
you know you want to.
First off, I want to thank my peers for nominating for this award. Thank you to Jessica. Thank you to Mr. Smith and the board for realizing, I think it was 6 or so years ago, that this position was needed. It's very new, and they're still very rare for any municipality to have this sort of position. People call us weekly wanting to know more about it. So for you guys to have the foresight and the progressive thought that this is something we wanted or needed to do to be on the cutting edge of that was huge, and it's definitely been a benefit to me. Secondly, thank you to Mr. Smith and Jessica both for giving me the freedom. It's a new position, and we're still figuring out not only how to do it, but how to best do it to serve the people of Griffin. And with things like social media that change almost monthly, having that creativity to really express not only how I see the city, but how I want the rest of the world to see us means a lot to me, not being boxed in. Thank you to my family, my wife, for understanding that when I come home at 7 o'clock from a meeting and I sit down immediately to get a video together to go out on social media, it's just part of the job. Or like Jessica said, 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning, phones buzzing. It's somebody who wants to know why their water is brown or why their power is out. And I don't know whose baby that is. But, and lastly, my mom. My wife and I both work, so when there are commission meetings and she has to work late or events, somebody has to be there to pick up the kids. So she's been really instrumental to me in standing in the gap for my family to allow me to be able to do the job that I want to do. So definitely thank you all. I'm very appreciative of it, and I'm looking forward to the great things that Griffin has in store for the future. So thank you all.
Madam Chairman, if I could, I just have to say this about Mr. Miller. Though he has a position of, what's the name of the position again?
Citizen engagement.
Citizen engagement. He is actually so much more. I have never encountered such a talented person. A lot of the artwork that you see around Griffin, the actual Griffin symbol, is part of his work. That's Brian's symbol. They're local DJs. That's Brian's symbol when you see it. Brian is far beyond what that position is. Before he started with the city of Griffin, went all over the world for Converse, a brand of Nike, doing shoes. His artwork is all over the world. So when you see Brian Miller and you just think that he's just a citizen engagement specialist of the city of Griffin, what actually Brian represents is the best and the brightest that Griffin has to offer. A graduate of Griffin High School, Clemson University, all of the above, but he's a Griffinite, and I'm proud to say that I've known him and his family for most of my life. So congratulations to being the strongest link, Brian.
Okay. Next, we'll, number 2, review financial reports for March 2019.
All right, good evening, Commissioners, Madam Chair. All right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Something a little bit more mundane, not quite so exciting as the awards. Financial statements, cash balance report, any questions? Okay. The local option sales tax report, any questions on our SPLOST and lost collections? And then the SPLOST performance, PAYGO components, blight, transportation, any questions? Okay. And then the interim statements by fund, this is now 75% into the year. Any questions, revenues, expenditures, capital? No? Okay. Thank you. If there are no questions.
Thank you, Mark.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next we'll move into citizen comment. At this time, the chairperson opened the floor to comments from the audience. Comments should relate to a specific agenda item not listed on the agenda for a public hearing or to the concerns within the jurisdiction of the city. Commission meetings serve the purpose of conducting city business and are not a forum for the unlimited expression of opinion. The chairperson reserves the right to limit comments to matters germane to city business and may refer speakers to the city manager of the staff resolution. Is there anyone on my left that would like to come forward and address the board? Is there anyone on the right that would like to come forward and address the board? Please come.
Kim Williams, I'm 502 South 6th Street. I just wanted to express my appreciation and how nice Experiment Street looks. It's stripped down, resurfaced, and looks really good. And I'd like to thank the board for making that a priority and getting it done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and address the board? Okay, now we'll move into public hearings. Number 3, receive comments regarding a request to amend the Unified Development Code of the City of Griffin, Article 5, use provision, permitted special accessories, and the non-conforming 501-3. Donation drop boxes regulating the placement of unattended donation drop boxes within the city limits of Griffin. Tucson, Kirk will address.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
So in April's workshop, we discussed having an ordinance for donation boxes, and what you have before you is what we've pretty much come up with. Last night, at Planning and Zoning Board, they adopted, they recommended approval with recommendations. So if you would briefly, I'll go through here and kind of show you what the recommendations were and answer any questions. I handed out I don't say alterations for some reason. The recommendations, they're highlighted in yellow, and most of them just deal with deleting the word drop and just saying making the donation boxes versus donation drop boxes to match the definition. Item 2D discusses fees. The fees that were recommended were $100 per box to be paid in town registration or application. And beyond that, the main thrust of the ordinance is that the property owners are just as responsible as the owners of the boxes. That's a big thing, to make sure that someone's going to be responsible and accountable for what's going to be seen as far as trash or what have you outside of those boxes. And we're giving them 65 days from the approval date, which is tonight. So what I'm thinking is that within the next 3 to 4 days, we'll get the information out to these owners, to the property owners, to the owners of the boxes, and it gives them about 60 days to come into compliance. So we're going to try to get that out by Friday, if not Friday, first thing Monday morning.
Tucson, what are some of the non-compliant issues going on with the drop boxes?
So when we did the workshop, showed the presentation showing some of the issues. Like for an instance, in front of the Walmart, there was a couch and some bags and things of that nature. We want to make sure that the clothing or articles are picked up regularly. If not, the property owner actually has the ability to go out there and do something about it in order to have it removed. So again, just want to make sure everybody's accountable and is responsible for those drop boxes, or donation boxes.
Mr. Kirk, will there be a date of being an annual renewal date that we're going to set up like we do with business licenses being March 31st, so that
we hadn't thought what the date is. Maybe we might try January. We might try to follow along with the OTCs. Not quite sure yet, but it'll be a year's time. So this is what, April? So we could say April 1st or May 1st, or May, I'm sorry.
So what they pay half a year, July 1, and then...
Right, so we'll work that out.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that way, I assume the licensing department's going to be doing the collection of this? Mm-hmm. So they have it on a schedule instead of having it?
Yeah, we can make it match up to that.
In your current proposal now, you don't have renewals. You only have a fee at the time of registration or application.
Under number L, 2L. Renewal of permit. Yep.
1 year. So they have to pay $100 every time they renew it, not just upon the initial registration.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone else have anything? Okay, move to number 4. Receive comments regarding a proposed amendment to the Unified Development Code of the City of Griffin, Article 18, Solid Waste Requirements and Specifications, Section 1803-E, Planning and Design General, by adding, deleting, or modifying the existing ordinance and updating the criteria for construction standards.
Okay, so this is fairly easy. 1803E, Planning and Design General, there are 2 sentences under that heading. We're just going to delete the 1 sentence. We're going to delete all grease traps, since the racks and other materials will not be allowed in container pad areas. And that's all we're doing to that ordinance. And of course, Planning and Design, they recommend approval. Anything else?
This is a public hearing. Anybody have any questions or anything to add? Okay.
Well done.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving to the consent agenda. Number 5, consider minutes. Oh, do you want to take all of them once or?
529.
I'm okay with that. Okay.
I'll make a motion to 529.
Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Tinsley and a second by Commissioner Flowers to amend the consent agenda 5 through 9. All in favor, let me know by show of hands. 7-0. Okay, a regular agenda. Consider approval of a request to amend the Unified Development Code of the City of Griffin, Article 5, use provision, permitted, special, accessory, and non-conforming, 503-1, donation drop boxes, regulating the replacement of unattended donation drop boxes within the city limits of Griffin.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Holberg and a second by Commissioner Murray. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 7-0. Okay, number 11, consider a proposed amendment to the Unified Development Code of the City of Griffin, Article 18, Solid Waste Requirement and Specification, Section 1803E, Planning and Design, General, by adding, deleting, or modifying the existing ordinance and updating the criteria for construction standards.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Holberg and a second by Commissioner Brock. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 7-0. Number 12, consider on first reading an ordinance amending the Code of Griffin at Chapter 94, Utilities, Article 2, Sewer Use, Division 1, Generally, and Division 2, Non-Domestic, Industrial, Commercial, Institutional, Use of Public Wastewater Facilities by deleting the present division and enacting in lieu thereof a revised ordinance and amending the corresponding grease management program.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Motion by Commissioner Holberg and a second by Commissioner Tinsley. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 7-0. Consider an agreement between the City of Griffin and Peachtree Recovery Services. Marcus will address. That's number 13.
Make a motion we approve the agreement between the City of Griffin and Peachtree Recovery Services.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner McCord and a second by Commissioner Holberg. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 7-0. Number 14, consider a pole attachment license agreement with Verizon Wireless of the East LP, doing business as Verizon Wireless.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second Mrs. Murray's motion.
I have a motion by Commissioner Murray and a second by Commissioner Holberg. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 7-0. Number 15, consider approval to continue the joint use and field inventory service as performed by low bidder Davies Resource Group in an amount not to exceed $239,000.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Holberg and a second by Commissioner Tinsley. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 7-0. 16, consider a memorandum of understanding between the City of Griffin Police Department and Ring LLC.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a question.
Motion by Commissioner Tinsley and second by Commissioner Murray. Discussion?
Didn't we received an email like a few weeks ago or something? There was an article about, I guess, the legality of people letting us use their video footage or something. Somebody sent us an email?
I don't recall seeing that. This is a voluntary video use agreement between people that have the Ring doorbell product.
Okay.
And they can either agree to share photos and video with us through an application or not.
Okay.
So there's nothing to compel them to do it. There's no cost to the city. We just have to have an arrangement between the two of us. It's pretty common. There's been several cities throughout Georgia that are already engaging in it. So I'm not familiar with anybody objecting to this particular model of what we're doing. There has been some discussion and concern about various other things, but most of that, my understanding was a relationship between a government entity that was using somebody's camera without their consent or with an open portal. This is not the case with that. So.
Okay.
And there's quite a few home security systems out there right now that share video with us for one way or another. It's just the mechanism by which we do it's a little cumbersome, and this should make it a little easier to do it.
Okay.
Mike, thank you for the work you did on this.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor, let me know by show of hands. 7-0. Number 17, consider Project 1 modification to the filter bays and Project 2 modification of post-EQ basins at Potato Creek wastewater treatment plant by P.F. Moon and Company in the amount of Project 1 at $57,578 and Project 2 at $84,940, totaling $142,516, and amend the budget accordingly for the Water and Wastewater Department.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Holberg and a second by Commissioner Murray. All in favor, let it be known by show of hand. 7-0. Okay, number 18, appoint voting delegate for the annual membership business meeting at GMA at the 2019 GMA Annual Convention in Savannah on Monday, June 24, 2019.
I'd like to nominate Chairman Ward.
Second.
Make a motion to close nominations.
Did you want to? Okay. All in favor, let it be known by show of hand. 7-0. Review the 2018 City of Griffin Charter Vision and City Code of Ordinance Division 2 Code of Ethics. Number 19. I requested that this be put on the agenda because I feel like this is something that we've never discussed publicly since the election, and I kind of have some concerns and want for in an open meeting for it to be discussed and for us as a board to get a clear understanding about what the, this charter change actually is and what it means. So.
You're really telling me things I haven't heard before. I mean, tell us what your concerns are.
Okay. In our charter, when this went to state legislators, it was my understanding, and I didn't bring the copy of the charter with me, that the only change in the charter would be pretty much the name of the position, from at-large to mayor. We were still having what we have now, an honorary mayor.
Basically, it was an administrative change as to who presides over the commission. And in the past, you've rotated that chairmanship on an annual basis through the annual selection or election by the commission itself. It took the at-large seat, which will be abolished as of the end of this year, and creates the new position of mayor, which is the change of the name from at-large commissioner to mayor. And the only designated duty the person has is the presiding officer. So the mayor will, his duties are the same. We didn't change the duties. And if you will look in the first section of the new legislation, section 2.1, it says, third sentence down, says, except as otherwise provided by law of this charter, the commission shall be vested with the powers of government of this city, but no individual member, including the person holding the office of mayor, shall have or exercise any power under this charter except as provided herein. That's it.
Okay. So, what does the when we do all of the appointments and the time of the appointments and the length of the appointments, it doesn't touch any of that.
They're all just like they have been many for years.
Okay. So if the elected mayor is elected, he appoints or she appoints the mayor pro tem. That still is like a 1 year, year-to-year thing.
Still year-to-year appointment.
And on the positions, and that's not a charter, that's under the actual code, right? What I'm talking about now.
Your board appointments.
The same way.
Well, board appointments are the same as they always have been. You know, some of your boards are created by state law, and the state law specifies who makes the appointment. If if it's the mayor and council, you follow the state law. Some were local created, and in some of those, again, you designated the chairperson to designate, I think, the industrial authority, I think the chairperson.
Or their designate.
Or his designee. And then others are full board appointments.
Okay, so nothing, none of it doesn't touch anything to do with any.
No, ma'am.
I understand. Okay, now my other concern was this. Whoever it is that's elected, we need to make sure we have guidelines that even somebody else coming in, if it's not one of us, that understands what the powers are, so that no one will come in and have an agenda that could abuse the charter or a misunderstanding.
The board still has votes, so
Yep. Oh, yeah.
budgets and what approved, so, I mean, it's a weak mayor.
Yeah, that's what I was getting around to. And the clarification that there was
It's not truly a weak mayor, it's a council manager form of government. And just
make sure that
because you
we don't have a
title
mayor that comes
you still
in.
have the same equal power as all other commissioners.
Okay, that comes in.
Now, as far
We have
as
a city manager that actually handles the
say
day-to-day
somebody's newly
responsibility.
elected to the mayor's position or commissioner's position, just like it's been in the past, when somebody's a newly elected commissioner, we give them a copy of the charter before they actually are sworn in and take office. And we either meet with them or offer to meet with them. Sometimes, they don't want to meet for various reasons. But I think most of you, either Kenny or myself, or perhaps both of us, have met with you if you're newly elected for the first time. To kind of go over and answer your questions. Now, there's no formal orientation process. I think the state mandated course, the newly elected requirements go into some of this form of government and some of that, but nothing specific as to the city of Griffin. We can be more formal in the future if you think that's.
And I do, and I think that there should be a clear understanding for whoever it is coming in that the government is actually the city manager actually runs the day-to-day operation. So there won't be a mayor that's bumping head with the city manager, because that's not their job or their responsibility.
There shouldn't be a mayor or commissioner, anyone.
It should be the board's responsibility to check and balance and
for us, I think we need a clear understanding about micromanaging and interfering with the day-to-day operation of city business. One of my concerns was, and I didn't say it then, but last year we had something that came up, a case that was in court, and the constituent came in to speak. The judge had postponed the case because they said the commissioner told them that we were going to change the ordinance. I have an issue with that. To me, that's interfering with the day-to-day operation. When you can, if a commissioner is telling a constituent something to tell the judge, they actually change what the judge is going to do. So, for me, that's unethical.
Well, here again, no individual commissioner has any power as such. You act as a body, and the majority of the will of the body is what controls. So even though one commissioner might make a statement like that, it can't be a binding statement because they don't have the power to make it.
It can't be a binding statement, but it changed what the judge did.
Well, this commissioner did not tell that person that. They used my name.
Well,
They had their interpretation of what they told the judge to try to sway the court, but I never told him what he could or couldn't do.
And
Well, let me ask my question. In terms of what she was referring to, is there any ethical violation for misrepresentation by a commissioner? I guess in the instance that there is some tangible evidence that someone on this board misrepresents themselves as having more power than they do.
Well, if there's any ethical violation, it would have to come under your code of ethics. And I don't know. Hold on, I've got it here.
No, there's nothing in the code. There's nothing in the code of ethics. In fact, our code of ethics hadn't been updated since 1968. So the GMA group has a sample code of ethics that's a little more involved than ours is. So
I think that's something that we need to look into.
The one you have was adopted. It was required, I guess, in 68 or thereabouts.
68?
Yeah, to be adopted. It's in the state statute. GMA several years ago came out with a city of ethics program and put out several models, which some cities did adopt. But if you had adopted the state statutory code of ethics, which is what you have, you still qualified. So that's where you've always been. And prior commissions have talked about this. They've looked at other models, and nobody has ever suggested making the change.
Well, I'm suggesting it. Okay. The other thing is our code of ethics. I know that they're for us, and we have to have a model. But when we have other boards that we appoint in the community, what code of ethics or what guidelines do they follow?
Well, every city can have their own ethics ordinance. And some of them have adopted ordinances which frankly became unworkable. Let me make a comment. Let me back up here. Kenny made the statement it was not covered. If you look at number 6, make no private promises of any kind binding upon the duties of office, since a government employee has no private word which can be binding on public duty. So if one of the elected officials is to make a representation that they have the power to do something which they really don't have, I think you would violate that particular provision.
Okay.
I have one more question. In terms of when we talk about the annual appointments, for the ones that are the chairman or the chairman designee, because the chairman will essentially be the same person, will those items still be placed on the agenda as a formality?
I would think so.
Okay. Because presumably, if it is an annual appointment, that chairman, mayor now still has to formally make the
annual appointment. I would think that once a year you're going to consider who you're going to appoint.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay.
You agree with that?
yeah, that's the way I understand it, and that would be my intent to put it on the
Back
agenda.
to what I was asking about. If we updated our code of ethics and adopted a new one, how does it affect the boards that we appoint, that we affiliate, the authorities and things that we
There are some cities that have adopted codes of ethics, and their board appointees are subject to those ethics ordinances. There are some that exclude board appointees. They only affect the elected body itself. Right now, what you have affects the elected officials and the city employees, or appointed officers as well. So, it's really a lot of options out here as to.
I'm just going to be honest with you. I have some great concerns because of some things that have been floating around the city. One of the things that has been said is that this board can have to do with housing. That this board could come in and vote there was a park, the park that is supposed to be in the Commissioner's Flowers District. There was somebody that wanted to exchange land. It's in her district. But what was said was that the 4 white commissioners didn't need our approval in order to do it, the land swap. That concerns me. It really concerns me. And the person that said it said to several people. It was several people that has told me that. So I know that the board, 4 members of this board have the authority to do,
Anything they want.
anything they want. But I would really and truly would not like to think that that's not what it's going to be. Because what this takes me back to is when I came here 18 years ago, there was an opportunity for an African American woman to be city manager. She was the most qualified, but at that time, the Board of Commissioners said, we're not ready for that. And when I saw this meeting the other day up in North Georgia with the same type of situation, and then there's been a rumor about a board here in Griffin where most of the people there are that work this position, a job, are women that said that in the future they don't want to promote from within. It really concerns me. And we need to have some ethic ordinances in place. And like I said, I don't want to be the one to have to be calling Channel 5, Channel 2, or Channel 11, or filing lawsuits, but I will. I would like to think that we have come far enough that the innuendos and the rumors that I'm hearing will not happen here, but if it does, it will not happen quietly. So, that's all I got to say for that. And this was item number 19. If there's anyone else that has anything to say.
I'd be glad to speak up. I have never once, and I want to make sure when you say that as a commissioner, and let the minutes show that Rodney McCord is speaking solely for himself, ever made any comments of any power that I have as a commissioner. That has always been the pleasure of the board. What 4 members of the board, what a majority of the board thinks, and no matter what position I've held, I'm not going to any constituent, non-constituent, potential constituent to make any type of promises of anything in order to get elected to the mayor's position or the 6th district position. I've always been upfront and let people know how this thing works, that the city manager is in charge. We are elected, and the day-to-day operations are made by the city manager. So I can speak for myself. I can't speak for anyone else. But when I make a decision up here on this board, when it's about housing or anything else, when it comes before me, that's why I make the comment. And I start making it because I too heard some of the same thing that Ms. Ward is talking about. And that's why I make the comment. If there's anybody that disagrees with what we're talking about, the time to make a comment or to disagree is to say it then. Not to leave out of here saying that we're all on the same page, that we're all behind staff, and then go behind the staff to appointees to tell them that we cannot do what has been suggested. See, the time would be to do that would be when you're up here and you make those decisions. So I don't, as the gentleman said at our last workshop, he knows it's going to put a lot of pressure on some of us on the board. And I made it very clear, it's not going to put any pressure on me, because I'm going to stand, whatever I say up here, I'm going to say it when I leave here. But I don't know if that's happening with everyone. So I'm not that commissioner that Ms. Ward is referring to. Let the minutes show.
So my comment regarding this is, I think, as those of you who were here when we did vote to have the mayorship go to a referendum, I had concerns then about there being the possible abuse of power. I think, like a lot of things, when a person gets into that position, if they are well-intentioned and they are willing to work for the entirety of the community, it's a beautiful thing. But as is often the case in life, you do have people who come in with their own agenda, and they are not concerned with working for the betterment of the entire community. I had that concern initially. I have a renewed concern about that, almost to the extent that I wish I had not given my approval to send the document off to the legislature. I did support it because I do feel like ultimately it is the community's right and responsibility and privilege to decide to make the decisions about how we do conduct business up here. But I am nonetheless unhappy about the fact that in light of the changes that are coming, there are these comments and rumors and other things going around about what I understood to be a small shift in the way that we operate being presumed to be a grand gesture of change in the city. In that vein, I do wholeheartedly support the idea that we need to have a review and update to our ethics policy. It is, because it's not the 60s anymore. Life is very different. I would like to think that the changes that have occurred in our society can uphold themselves without any policing, but I do not trust that. And I would prefer that we have things written down in black and white that support the ideas that we say we all agree to in terms of how we want our board to be run and managed. It is my hope going forward, as Rodney always says, that we are on one accord about the expectations and responsibilities of all of us sitting up here. But in the event that we are not, or in the event that someone new comes into this and they have different ideas, I want us to have policies and procedures in place to, as Doug pointed out, have a checks and balance amongst ourselves. That is at the fundamental core of how our government is supposed to work, that no one arm or no one person has unbridled power to do what they want. So I would ask that if we do embark on this idea of changing our ethics policy to reflect how our community is now, that we are all very mindful of the actual state of our community and not the perceived state of our community, because I think prior to the conversation that we've just had about the rumors, most people would have said that there's no way that anyone said if you have 4 white votes you can get anything you want done in the city, because we don't want to think that that's how we're still operating. But in reality, somebody in our community feels that way, and it may not be anyone on this board, but in order for us to safeguard the community from that person sitting on this board and imparting that rhetoric on our policies, we need to be very sure that our ethics policies prevent that type of behavior. So I agreed to send the document off to the legislature because I do believe in progress, and I think it is something that the board as a whole felt very strongly about. So I tend to not ask much of the board, but I am going to ask that you not make me regret it.
And if I may respond to the counting the votes, my position has always been that the commissioner in that district in my opinion, is like the trump card. They're the ones that basically say yay or nay. So whether it's the park that we've been talking about, we went out there together to try to have a balance. So in no time did if it was.
I'm not saying that you said you.
Right, okay.
Don't get me wrong.
I just want to make sure that.
But you know what, where I'm coming from.
I understand where you're coming from.
What was said, but the fact that I know what you told, what you did, and what you said, but what I'm saying didn't come from you. It came from others in the community that it had been repeated to. So, like I said, concerns me, and even with the spinoff from our other boards.
Yes, ma'am.
The fact that we've come so far in this 18 years from, I remember when I came on the board, our housing authority was the housing authority shame of the state. You know, I would hate to think that the fact that, I'm like Cora, that we agreed to even let this come before to a referendum for a vote. I would hate to think that my uncle would turn over in his grave if he knew that we had screwed this up like this.
And again, 4 people, this board can vote to change the charter with a referendum back to whatever form you want. If it's
Oh, no, we cannot, because if it had been 4 people, I would not have had to agree to it.
Right. But I'm just saying,
No,
there's
let
a
us
check
not
and balance
confuse
of this board to work together for the greater good of all of the community. And there's got to be a
And like
level.
I said, it's not just because I don't know who's running, I know who's not running. But there could be someone that come in that's none of us, that comes in with the idea that they're gonna really be mayor. But that's not, and they will be an honorary mayor, but what a lot of people are thinking it's not gonna be.
It's not a Mayor Rickard from Macon. It's not a Ms. Bottoms from Atlanta, City of Atlanta. This is a board team effort.
Like I said, I want everybody to know I love the city of Griffin. But my first love and my allegiance is to District 1.
Amen.
I'm always dancing with the one that brought me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we have one other thing on the agenda. I almost forgot it.
Item 20.
Item 20.
Would you like me to read that again, or do you have a copy?
Yeah, read it again, because
I make a motion to consider approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Griffin and Spalding County as an addendum to the 2017 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant awarded to the Griffin Police Department and Spalding County Sheriff's Department as a new item under the regular agenda. Police Chief Mike Yates is here to address.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hallmark and a second by Commissioner McCord to approve. All in favor, let me know by show of hands. 7-0.
Tell us about that, buddy.
Okay.
Every year for the past, probably further back than the last 3 years, but we've gotten the Justice Assistance Grant at least since 2015. And that grant is awarded to a county to divide based on population and other things between that and the municipalities. And as part of this process, you have to tell them what you're going to spend the money on and who's going to be the fiscal agent of the money. But what has happened is over the last few years, who is the fiscal, the grantee and who is the sub-grantee has swapped back and forth a couple of times between us and the county. Our annual reporting, everything's been good. We went through basically an audit of what we've been doing with this grant here a couple of weeks ago, and they pointed out to us that this intergovernmental agreement between us and Spalding County, where we said we're going to spend our money on this, and they're going to spend their money on that, had not been executed. And we've executed the same thing before, and we'll wind up doing it again in the future. It's just this is one of the housekeeping documents that they required. Our share of the money we're putting toward body cameras and things like that, which we plan to do. In practicality, nothing changes, just to be in compliance with the demands of this federal grant, which the goal line moves a lot with these grants, and sometimes we don't know exactly what they want And so it's a housekeeping measure. And if we want to be able to spend our share of it, we've got to give them the paperwork they want. So.
Cool. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I want to congratulate Brian. As y'all know, Brian and I work much more closely together than he likes, but he and I work closely together, and he is a very talented young man, and I appreciate what he does. Well deserved. Patrick also has an introduction he'd like to make quickly.
Yes, we were lucky enough to hire a new administrative coordinator, Danielle Hancock, and she's with us here today. She'll be working in the Economic Development Department.
On a much happier note, you will get your budgets on Friday. So you'll have...
You gonna be happy?
You will be happy. You'll have more than a week to go over those before we bring it to you at our workshop on the 28th that morning. And of course, after you get them, you have any questions, want to get with Marcus or I, between the time you get it, go over it in the workshop, answer any questions, please feel free to do that. The certificate of occupancy for Historic City Hall is scheduled for this Friday and move in next week. I'll believe that when I see it, but that is the schedule. So we do have our ministerial association meeting in that facility on Thursday. We're going to be cutting it close. But y'all are all invited to that particular meeting. We've asked all of our local pastors to meet with us to discuss what's going on in the city, the county, and with the school system. That'll be Thursday the 23rd at 8 o'clock, either in that building or on the front steps of that building. I'm not sure. Memorial Day is coming up on Monday the 27th. Of course, our offices will be closed that day. And please get with Ms. Watson on your MEAG conference registration. As you know, that sells out very quickly. So please get with her immediately on the MEAG conference registration. Thank you very much.
Just very briefly, tonight y'all approved the Verizon Wireless pole attachment agreement. I think at this time the city is very well poised for the onslaught of telecom 5G, which is soon to be coming to us. The state did pass a law this year, but thanks to the electric cities of Georgia, cities that are electric utilities such as Griffin were partially exempt from that law, and I think we're, as I say, well positioned to deal with it as it comes. You're not going to like what you see in a lot of cases, but there's not a lot we can do about that. We're having to do what the state tells us to do.
Okay. Mr. Holder?
I want to thank Patrick and staff for all they've done the last few second Saturdays, as well as the Dinner by the Bridge event and the partnerships and the relationships. And the next big event is going to be the next second Saturday will be June Jam. The Exchange Club is moving to the Doc Holliday Blues and Barbecue Festival, so we're going to be moving back underneath the trees on East Solomon Street. A table of 8 seats will be available for $125 a piece. So beach theme, sand's going to be dumped in hopefully, and be a great June 8th kicking off the summer.
Will people be able to attend that note by the 8th?
This is free to the community.
Okay.
Commissioner.
Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. Congratulations, Brian. I know you're like anyone else up here is like me, and the minute you get tagged on Facebook, Brian is right there all hours of the night and fixes it. So thank you, Brian, for everything that you do. And Patrick, thanks for everything that you've been doing lately. We had some visitors come in from McDonough this weekend, and they think this is the place to be, just from downtown and everything. And I'm really proud of our city. And again, for anyone that has graduates, congratulations. And I just want to make a memento out there that there will be parties and things going on this weekend and the next, so just be mindful and careful. Traffic chief up and down Maple Drive, there's seniors everywhere, so I don't know what you can do about that, but they're going to be partying, and y'all just
There are some things we can do.
yeah, don't call the police on them. They're going to have fireworks and dog barking.
No.
Just want to bring that to everybody's attention, but thanks everyone for coming tonight, and of course.
No comment.
Commissioner Brown?
I'm done. I want to say something that I think Rodney's going to probably bring up, but I want to steal it before he says anything. I'd like to congratulate Griffin High School for winning a track championship.
Why are you stealing my thunder? Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
So
You
we
saw
don't have
me
to
write
stay
that
all
down.
night.
What happened to the golf championship, Coach?
Golf team, we didn't do too well this year, but our Griffin High School track team since 1991, last time we won the state, we had some young men to go over to, it was Carrollton this year, to win our state 5A track meet, which was a big feat. We also had Coach Erwin Ross, who was a part of that, who's been teaching at Griffin High, I think, since 72, 3, 4, 5, something like that, but he's been there forever, and he was part of this team as well, so a big congratulations to the Griffin High School track team. That's it. That's all I have. Congratulations to all the graduates, of course.
All right, let's go.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.